Aaron, I don't know if you heard about this. Actually, you and I were just talking about this, actually. You know, Spotify has been making a big move lately, and podcasting continues to grow and explode. And you know, the John Campea Show audio-only podcast is available there if you want to go subscribe to it. It's doing great. But podcasting continues to grow and explode. And we just hit this incredible milestone where Joe Rogan, UFC commentator, stand-up comedian, he's also one of the most popular podcasters in the world. He just signed, for those of you who haven't heard about this, Joe Rogan just signed a deal with Spotify to bring his podcast over to Spotify for $1 million. I'm sorry, I misspoke. $10 million. Oh, I'm sorry, I misspoke again. Joe Rogan just signed an exclusive deal with Spotify for his podcast for $100 million. Spotify is doing some major moving and shaking, and the importance and the popularity of podcasts continue to grow. Well, Spotify just made another new major move. This one's actually really incredible, and I think this is going to fly under a lot of people's radars, but I think this is huge. They just signed a new deal, Spotify did, with Warner Brothers in DC. And what's going to be happening is DC is going to be producing a series of scripted podcasts. We used to call those radio dramas, but they're called scripted podcasts of their DC heroes. So you're going to get Batman stories in podcast form. You're going to get Green Lantern stories in podcast form. Now, it goes beyond just DC for Warner Brothers. For instance, they even said they're going to do a Supernatural podcast with more stories from Supernatural.
Wow.
Now, it needs to be pointed out that the report is specifying that this podcast universe does not connect in with the DCEU. So if we see Wonder Woman or hear Wonder Woman in one of these podcasts, it's not connected to Wonder Woman 84. It's not connected to that Wonder Woman. So it's going to be its own standalone thing. You know, the popularity of podcasts growing more and more, and we have been seeing more and more people doing scripted stuff, like Serial became a really interesting.
Oh, yeah, I love that.
That became huge. Let me ask you, Aaron.
Yes.
As somebody who yourself has really gotten into podcasting and things like that.
Yes,
yourself
Kappa
as well.
Kappa Cancer, my brief podcast.
Right.
Which I'm considering starting it back up again. But as I progress past my cancer, I was like, okay, let me put this on the shelf for a bit. But now that I might consider revisiting. So yes, I have a lot of experience in the world of podcasting.
What is the place, or is there a place right now for? I mean, look, I'm just going to call it radio dramas. These are now radio dramas. Now, these podcasts are going to be radio dramas. But what do you think about the idea of, can podcasts that are scripted dramas, do they have a place? And then specifically, do you think there is a place for them in the genre area like DC? What do you think about this news when you hear about it?
I think that this is going to be massive. And here's why. Now that the world is reopening and people are starting to get back to work and people are starting to move about the world more often, you're going to see people back to their commutes. I know people who have 1 to 2 hour commutes each way to go into the office. People who get on the subway and are, in the subway for 45 minutes to an hour and a half, on the train for 2 hours in the morning. This is prime time for people to listen and get engaged and then get invested into new programs, essentially, programs that they can listen to while they're driving and still have the experience of storytelling. It opens up a lot more jobs for voice actors, which is great. Very wonderful. And I think that this is a huge sign of what's the next step in podcasting that's becoming, really popular. We saw the evolution of podcasting as it continued to grow and as people were just sort of sharing their opinions. And there was a lot of like motivational stuff and self-help stuff, and then a lot of interviews. We've seen the different iterations of what podcasts can be, and how essentially if you have an idea for almost anything, you can do it on a podcast and someone will listen to it. Doesn't mean you'll make money on it. If you're out there and you're like, maybe I should start a podcast, just know, look at how long Joe Rogan has been doing this and what he has built and what he has behind him. Not everybody gets a $100 million deal. However, you too can have a podcast on pretty much anything you want. Now we're seeing this open up into the world of storytelling. I think it's very exciting, incredibly promising. I love the idea.
Yeah, I mean, just to go think about the finances of it. Yeah, Joe Rogan makes $100 million, right? We get thousands upon thousands and thousands of people download the audio-only version of the John Campea podcast per day.
Mm-hmm.
Make around $5 a day. Mm-hmm. Make around $5 a day. So it's like this whole world of podcast. But Joe Rogan, I mean, and listen, it's kind of like the NFL where once the new guy signs the biggest contract of all time, that starts meaning everybody else gets paid. So a lot of podcasters were very, very excited to hear about Joe Rogan getting a $100 million deal. But anyway, guys, specifically to the idea of DC, are you interested in audio only, radio dramas of these DC heroes and some other Warner Brothers characters as well? But let's focus on the DC stuff. Are you interested in this? Do you think this could be like the next big thing? Are you not interested in all? Let me know what you guys think. Jump down to the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. All right, guys.